And wheat germ agglutinin disables that normal capacity and allows funny things through into your foreign substances access into your bloodstream. It causes gut leakiness, as this cartoon from the Paleo Mom blog shows. So it's probably the reason why people who consume wheat have more inflammatory diseases, have more autoimmune diseases. So what can that result in? It can cause such things as irritable bowel syndrome, and it can worsen ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. It can worsen all forms of arthritis. So rheumatoid arthritis is worse. Hand pain, by the way, elbow pain, wrist pain, very, very common in wheat-consuming people. It can cause airway inflammation that we see as asthma or repeated sinus congestion or infections. It can cause brain, we haven't gotten to that, but that alone, by the way, the brain inflammation, the brain degradation, brain destruction from wheat consumption alone is a huge issue. So the Mayo Clinic just published its series of gluten encephalopathy patients. These are people who started to suffer the deranged memory of dementia, and in 2 years were dead. And at autopsy, antibodies against wheat gliadin were uncovered in the cerebral tissue. So fatal dementia from wheat. How about gluten? How about cerebellar ataxia? This is where, in my 50s, usually, I start to lose balance and control over my bladder. That's from wheat. How about peripheral neuropathy? There's a very vigorous line of research in the UK. 50% of peripheral neuropathies, where you have no feeling in your feet, balance problems, 50% of people who have unexplained neuropathy, not due to diabetes, say, is due to wheat. You remove the wheat, it gets better over time. Thyroid inflammation, often called Hashimoto's thyroiditis, on and on and on. Multiple forms of inflammatory diseases triggered or worsened by consumption of wheat lectins and other things like gliadin. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna propose to you that what we do in this country and the booming cost of healthcare, we are treating, not entirely, but to a large degree, wheat consumption. So this notion of eat more healthy whole grains has been enormously profitable for the medical industry because it creates hyperinsulinemia, prediabetes, diabetes, hypertension, leg edema, congestive heart failure, coronary disease, rheumatoid arthritis, polymyalgia rheumatica, polymyositis, on and on and on. All those things require drugs. And have you seen the bill on some of these drugs? Like IV Enbrel, what's that, $1,800 a month? So we're talking about an enormously profitable message. Eat more healthy whole grains is enormously successful if you view it from a revenue-generating viewpoint. Okay. I want to make this absolutely clear. We do not eat gluten-free foods. So, you know, I've been lucky enough to advertise this message. While in parallel, there's this boom in gluten-free, this notion that gluten is bad. Well, gluten is bad, but gluten-free foods are not good. So if we take, the reason why this is, if we take wheat and gluten out of our foods, and we want to create a reasonable facsimile of breads, muffins, cookies, etc., they use cornstarch, rice starch, tapioca starch, and potato starch. Okay? Dried powdered starches that raise blood sugar higher than even wheat. If you look at the tables of glycemic index, you'll see the absolute highest, 98, 100, the higher than any other food except dates and figs, is cornstarch, rice starch, tapioca starch, and potato starch. So if you eat gluten-free, you will get fat, you will grow a big tummy. High blood glucose causes glycation, which means I get cataracts, I get arthritis, I get hypertension. Okay, so gluten-free foods is a big mistake. Just as low fat was a big mistake, gluten-free is a big blunder. So no gluten-free foods unless you want plenty of health problems. So what happens? I'll tie up. What happens when you eliminate wheat? So let's put aside low carb. So I would say the diets I believe we should all follow is wheat-free, low carbohydrate. But what if we confine ourselves to wheat-free and don't worry too much? I'm not advocating this. I'm just a thought experiment, okay? What if we just eliminate wheat and don't worry too much about carbs? Yeah, maybe you shouldn't eat ice cream and candy all day long, but just eliminate wheat. You still lose weight, okay? Not because of loss of calories, as the wheat lobby would argue, but because you removed an opiate, an appetite-stimulating opiate. And calorie consumption goes down on average 440 calories per day. Appetite, markedly diminished. You don't have to eat every 2 hours. You might skip meals. You might even intermittently fast seamlessly, painlessly, because you've lost this thing driving appetite continuously. Blood sugar goes down. Hemoglobin A1C, that long-term measure of blood sugar, goes down substantially. That means, of course, pre-diabetics and diabetics become non-pre-diabetics and non-diabetics. As I was diabetic 22 years ago. I'm no longer diabetic on nothing because I took all grains out of my diet, wheat meaning. Reduced joint pain, hands, fingers, elbows, shoulders most commonly. We're now seeing in the longer term experience reversal partial of the pain and inflammation, like back pain, knee pain, hip pain. If you're bone on bone, maybe not. But the earlier phases, you can obtain substantial relief over a long period. By the way, I should mention, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, polymyalgia rheumaticus, lupus, those things don't recede in 3 days like acid reflux does. It takes 6 months to 2 years. It takes a long time, but it's a very, very substantial effect. Blood pressure goes down from a cholesterol panel viewpoint. Triglycerides plummet. HDL goes up. The number one cause for heart disease in the U.S. by a long stretch is not high cholesterol. It's lots of small LDL particles triggered by the amylopectin A of wheat and other carbohydrates. So if you remove it, small LDL drops like to the floor. Sleep is better. Acid reflux goes away in a great majority of people. The symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome disappear in the great majority of people. And I don't need to stress this. You guys know how to eat, right? You guys know you eat vegetables, real food, nuts, seeds, meats, pork, chicken, poultry, fish, avocados, right? But the thing I want to stress to you is don't fall for that advice. Oh, but you need some healthy whole grains. It's good for your bowel health. And so, no, it's not. So don't fall for phase 2 or 3 of the South Beach diet, for instance, that says, well, after you've lost your 18 pounds, go back to healthy whole grains and regain 14. Okay? One last closing comment. So if we eat real food, but Jimmy and Christine want to have company on Saturday, and they say, well, you know, they don't all eat like we do. What are we going to serve them? Maybe we want to serve some cheesecake, or maybe we want to have some chips, or we want to have some cookies or muffins. Well, one of the things I do, and this is my life nowadays, I show you how to recreate these foods. So you should be eating meats, eggs, cheese, vegetables, nuts, etc., right? What if you want a pizza? Or what if you want a stack of pancakes? What I do on my blog and books, etc., is show you how, to some degree, reintroduce those foods without all the problems. And that you'll find that in the Wheat Belly blog. Thank you.
Dr. William Davis.
Thanks for watching highlights from the 2012 Low Carb Cruise, and stay tuned for full details on the 2013 Low Carb Cruise. Visit lowcarbcruiseinfo.com.
Hello everybody, I'm Pam Young, and I wrote a book called The Mouth Trap, The Butt Stops Here. And it's not a diet book. It doesn't tell you what to eat, it tells you how to mind what kind of diet you're going to be on. If you find yourself on any diet and you're starting to lose your willpower and you need a little help, The Mouth Trap, The Butt Stops Here will really give you some insights on how to really enjoy every single bite you take. The very first line in the book is, I don't know about you, but my mouth gets me into more trouble than any other hole in my body. To order the book, go to the home page of my website and you'll see a tab that says Lose Weight.